back to my channel. Of course, tonight is Let's Really Find Out, and today I'll be speaking on Nehemiah. Nehemiah is someone who I honestly didn't know anything about. I didn't know what he did at all. Like, of course, I knew his name, I knew he was in the Bible, but like I said, I knew nothing, and I actually enjoyed figuring out who he was and allowing God to just speak to me in different ways about him. And I would really suggest reading the book of Nehemiah and also Ezra, because I feel like they kind of go hand in hand with each other. But Nehemiah was very intriguing. Like, it really kept you on your toes. I feel like if you really pay attention to what they're talking about, you can relate to it in so many ways. So like always, these videos aren't usually really super long because I think I enjoy just giving a very simplified um, explanation of people of the Bible. Because I remember, like, my walk with Christ, and even still now, I would hear sermons and I would hear a name and they would be speaking on a name, and then of course I would know nothing about that person. Like, nothing, like not even a simple thing. So I think I'd like to give these videos just so you can look back and know something. Like, that's why I still encourage you to go find out and read on your own also. But I find it to be helpful to, at least when you're at church and they're giving a word, at least a little bit is in the back of your mind. Okay, well, I know the gist of who they were and what they were and what they did and whatnot. So, like, this won't be long. It's just kind of what I got, because of course, like, I'm still learning. I am not someone who knows everything about the history of the Bible. So trust me, in the comments, if you want to leave whatever you feel in regards to these videos, that's always welcome, because I'm always eager to learn more and to better myself, definitely in God and whatnot. So, starting off, so basically Nehemiah was a very strong man. Like, he was very confident in his faith. He loved people. He loved his people specifically. He was exiled, and he was away from his people, and he lived in Persia, I believe, and with his he lived in the palace, and he was the cupbearer to the king. And basically, a cupbearer is someone who, they taste the wine before the king drinks it, like, to make sure it's not poisonous or whatever. So if the wine is poisonous, then they die, and the king's life is saved. So if you would think about that, that's kind of a very respectable position. He was well off in the palace. The king really favored him, and so there was a day where Nehemiah was crying because he had just found out that his people were not okay. The walls of their city was damaged. They weren't up, they were down. And the walls represented security, and so they didn't have any security. And the people who lived in the city within the walls, who were no more, they were kind of just down and sad and just not very hopeful. So of course, when Nehemiah found out that news, he was very sad. He was weeping, and the king noticed him. And usually, if the king sees someone who isn't like happy and joyful to see him, like, they could be like killed instantly, because it's like, okay, well, you must be against me, because why aren't you happy to see me? But like I said, the king found favor with Nehemiah. So when he saw him, he was like, okay. And I'm paraphrasing for sure, so I see it as him going, okay, what's wrong? Like, what's going on? Because you're usually not like this. And Nehemiah goes on to tell him that his people are not, they don't have security. Their walls are down. And so basically, the king go ahead and he lets him go back and help his people. And like, the king gives him like papers and wood and supplies, so we're on his journey back, like, no one gives him any trouble, that he basically supplies him with everything he needs to go and help and save his people and rebuild the wall. So Nehemiah becomes the governor of the city, and he is rebuilding the wall. He has priests and tons of people helping him. And of course, while he's doing what he felt that God was leading him to do, there are like three men who are basically being very annoying. As simple as I could make it. Like, they are trying to stop him from building the wall. Like, they come after him like multiple times to try and stop him. They send a fake priest to try and get him out of the wall so that they can like persuade him to stop rebuilding the wall. They tried to threaten him. They made fun of him for rebuilding the wall, saying that the wall wouldn't be strong enough to withstand a fox or something like that, and basically doing whatever they can to try and embarrass him, to try and bring him down, to try and make him stop doing whatever God has called him to do. And every single time Nehemiah literally prayed. Prayer, he was definitely a man of prayer, because no matter what came and however he felt, he always prayed. Like, when he first found out that his people were without a wall, the city was without a wall, he prayed. He prayed and cried out to God. And when these three men came and tried to discourage him and distract him, he prayed, and he was very bold with his responses to them. He didn't even, I want to say, like, he didn't flinch. Like, he didn't even really care, because he was so steadfast and focused on what God called him to do that he just like, okay, whatever, I'm not falling for it. Like, I really believe he had really great discernment, because even when the priest was trying to like three men hired the priest to try and get him to go, I think, to the temple and like get him all just, I'll say, distracted. So he knew that the priest was up to no good. So he was so deep in his faith, and he had a close relationship to God to even be able to tell if people weren't really for him and whatnot. So eventually, of course, the wall gets built. The people that were once far away from the city came to come back, and everyone, basically devoted themselves back to God and thanked God for rebuilding their wall and giving them security. And then, of course, they had some mishaps with people kind of forgetting that God just brought them back to where they were. They forgot the covenant. They were kind of living as if God didn't just perform a miracle. But of course, eventually, they repented again. So there were some ups and downs once the walls were built. But in the end, Nehemiah, of course, ended the book with prayer, him praying to God and asking God to just see him for someone who did good, like who pleased God. And I just think it was so wonderful for me to see a man in the Bible, just a man he just seemed like someone I could relate to. He was very strong and steadfast, and he had no questions about what it is that God called him to be. And I think that's someone to really look up to. And he was very passionate. His love for people is something that I will always try and strive to be like, now that I know who he even is. And I think he has so many great characteristics. Like I said, just being strong and not caring about what anyone says, trying to discourage him from doing the call that God had for his life. And I think we can really apply that to now. It's like, be more like Nehemiah. If God has called you to do something, don't be afraid. Don't let the devil tempt you. Don't get discouraged. Don't get off track. Like, stay the course. And while you're staying the course, be bold about it. Don't allow people to try and distract you and give you and feed you ill words about yourself and about your calling. So yeah, like, I just really enjoyed learning about him and seeing that it seemed like real life. And of course, the Bible was real life, but it just seemed more modern. Like, I could really relate to this more than I thought I would, because when God gave me Nehemiah, I was like, I don't really know how I'm going to relate to this at all. And I think I really enjoy now each week for myself, because it's like each week I never really know exactly who God is going to give me to talk about or to learn about. And sometimes I'm like questioning, are you sure that's who you want me to do a video about? Because I have no idea who they were. and I don't understand how I'm going to try and connect with it. But of course, each time God proves me wrong and shows me that you can learn from anything. And I'm really starting to believe that. So I really hope you you learned something from this video, just being strong and being faithful and not allowing the devil to distract you when you're on the course for God, and just staying the course and knowing who you are in Christ and not wavering and staying strong and not getting discouraged. Even if people, and there's naysayers and people are trying to tell you that what you're doing is wrong, stay the course, ignore the naysayers and all that, because this is something that I can truly always look back on and really relate to. So like I said, thank you again for always watching. I pray that this week will be blessed, that you will stay encouraged, and that this week will just be full of joy, especially with Valentine's Day coming up. If you're single, sometimes I know that can kind of be like, here we go again. But, I was really just praying to God earlier today to ask Him to help me see this week and this weekend in a different way, to just experience in a way that I never have in the past. Because in the past, I would always kind of dwell on the fact that here go another Valentine's Day. But this time, like I feel just fine, and I'm really using this week and this coming up weekend to focus on the love that I have, and just really just being grateful for what I have, because Valentine's Day is really not as important as we make it seem to be. But that's off topic, but I felt the need to say that and share that with Valentine's Day coming up. But again, I pray that this week is full of joy and love and laughter and happiness. So once again, if you haven't followed my Instagram, go ahead and head over to hercrown__ and follow me for more recent content and whatnot. So thank you again for watching. Stay blessed and have a great evening.